Welcome back to World of Immersion. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 best theme park queues of all time. Now, this was a very difficult list for me to put together. I have been in some great queues all over the world. Obviously, I've not been to every single park in the world, so be sure to comment down below if there are queues that I have not yet been to or ones that I've missed in this video. But before we start today's video, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss when we have brand new content. It shows that over 97% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. Please hit that subscribe button if you can. It helps out the channel a ton. And go ahead and give it a like and a comment if you enjoyed the video. With that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into the video. Now, like I mentioned before, I've been to a ton of theme parks, and that means I've been in a ton of theme park queues, so obviously not every queue could make the list. There's one big honorable mention I want to give a shout out to, and that is unfortunately a group of rides that I've not yet had the chance to experience, and that is going to be Fantasy Springs over at Tokyo Disney Sea. Now, while you may see some other rides from Tokyo Disney on here, I still have not yet been to Fantasy Springs. A few other members of our team have been, but me personally, I have not been to Fantasy Springs, so you will not see any of those rides on this list. However, I am sure that a few of them would probably make it right onto this list as well. But that being said, we'll start off at number 10, and coming in at number 10 is going to be Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Now, specifically for this one, we're talking about the one over at Disneyland. Unfortunately, the one over at Hollywood Studios would definitely not make the cut. I actually don't like that queue very much. It's mostly outdoors, but the one at Disneyland is great. It is a massive indoor queue, and it is themed so well. It really feels like you stepped right back in time, and you are going through all the history of Mickey Mouse. It's great. It's got a very cartoony feel. Everything is in the exact same theme, and it all works very cohesively. It is a massive indoor queue too, which is great on those hot summer days when it is 100 degrees outside. It's great. The air conditioning is very, very nice in here. It's just a very pleasant queue to wait in. Additionally, this line moves very fast because this ride has some great capacity. And for this list, we're going to be including pre-shows as part of the queues, and Mickey and Minnie's has a great pre-show. I love how you enter through the screen at the end, and then as soon as you go through the screen, you are right in that cartoon world, and it completely changes the vibe of the area around you. It's great. It is a great way to start the ride, and it's just one of the best queues I have been to. Coming in at number 9 is going to be a queue that's actually in a lot of different parks. That is Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. Now, nearly all of these are identical, so we're going to be lumping them all into one. And that is going to be the one over at Universal Hollywood, the one at Epic Universe, and the one at Universal Studios Japan. All of three of these are great queues. Now, the one over at Hollywood has that great first section underneath with all the rocks. It's great. It's got the Yoshi mini section as well. But really, the part that separates these queues from other queues is Bowser's Castle. Bowser's Castle is awesome. There are so many set pieces. It really, truly feels like you stepped right into Bowser's Castle, right from the Mario Kart games, and it's awesome. The level of detail in this queue is incredible. That giant Bowser statue is awesome to look at. However, it does sometimes hold up the queue a bit because people love to take pictures in front of it. But once again, this is one of those very fast-moving queues. The only thing I'll say about this one is I don't really love the pre-shows very much, but they're absolutely necessary in order to get you acclimated to how to use the AR head goggles and explain to you how to operate the ride. But that being said, they definitely could be a little more interesting, maybe include an animatronic or two in one of them. But that being said, it's still a great queue and very, very immersive. One of the most immersive queues I've seen. And coming in at number 8 is going to be a queue from over at Tokyo Disneyland, and that is the Enchanted Tales of Beauty and the Beast. This queue is incredible. They built a whole castle for this ride alone. And that facade looks amazing. But really, we're talking about how great that indoor queue is. It really feels like you stepped right into the castle, and that pre-show is incredible. Some of the best animatronics I have ever seen. That Beast animatronic is one of the most fluid and lifelike animatronics I have ever seen. The pre-show is incredible. This ride is also incredible, but obviously we're just talking about queues in this video, and this is definitely one of the best in the world. I highly recommend going out to Tokyo Disney so you can check out this ride and check out the queue as well, because the queue is very, very cool to look at, almost as much as it is to ride the ride. Coming in at number 7 is going to be a queue that probably a lot of people have very, very high, and I love it. But there are just a few other queues that I would place a little bit higher than it, and that is going to be Avatar Flight of Passage. This queue definitely has the best natural feel out of any queue in the world. The landscaping and the natural greenery of this queue, the outdoor queue, is incredible. And then once you get indoors, you have that bioluminescent scene, which looks amazing. You got the whole lab, which looks great as well, with a floating animatronic. Just everything about this queue is incredible, and it really sets up the ride so perfectly. It gives you a long time to get adjusted into the world of Avatar. You're not just jumping straight from outdoors. Instead, it takes you from rooms that are big into smaller and smaller rooms. So you get very adjusted to that small, cramped space. And then all of a sudden, when that screen opens up, it is just an incredible view. It is so much more shocking when you've been in much smaller enclosed spaces instead of being right outside and going right onto that screen. It really builds up that anticipation very well. And it's just one of the most impressive queues to be in. Everywhere you look, it is so well detailed and just a beautiful queue. And coming in at number 6 is going to be a queue from over at Disneyland, my home park, and that is Indiana Jones Adventure. Now, unfortunately, this is one of those queues that you don't really get a chance to wait in very often. They now hold people in the outdoor queue because of Lightning Lane, and then you get to walk through the main queue. So at least you do get to see it still, but rarely are you ever waiting in that queue. But let me just tell you, this is an incredible queue. It's one of the best I have ever seen. It is incredibly immersive. There is so much to see. Unfortunately, it does not live up to how it used to be. It used to be very, very interactive with a lot of the traps activating when you stepped on them or pulled a rope. Unfortunately, none of them do that anymore. I would love to see Disney go in and fix that and make this queue a lot more interactive. However, I'm sure they don't really see much of a reason to do that since people are no longer waiting in the queue itself. But even the outdoor queue is great. It's definitely one of the better outdoor queues I have seen. But everything about this queue is incredible. Even up to the load station. It's one of the best load stations I've ever seen in my life. And it sets up the ride so perfectly. That pre-show while you're waiting in that huge room with the switchbacks is great as well. It's very, very old school Indiana Jones, and I love it. It's super nostalgic for me. But coming in at number 5 is going to be a ride from over in Europe at Efteling. And please forgive me for my pronunciation here, but we have De Vliegende Hollander over at Efteling. This is their water coaster, and this queue is so impressive. It is one of the best storytelling queues I've ever seen. It tells the story of the ride, if you're paying attention, without even having to do a pre-show. Better than any other ride I've ever seen without a pre-show. You see the book of the old captain, and it tells his story. You walk through his quarters, you see all of his old ships and everything, and then you walk through the painting that tells the story of the Flying Dutchman. And as soon as you walk through the painting, you are in his world. You get transported right there, and it is so cool. You're then on the boat dock, then you go up into the buildings, and you can see outside the buildings down to the loading station, which looks incredible. That queue weaves in and out of those buildings alongside the dock where you load, and all of them have windows out looking into the dock. It really feels like you truly have stepped into that world. It is incredible. It is one of the most immersive queues I've ever seen in my life. I love queues that really feel like each place there exists within the actual world. You're not just going from scene to scene, but you're going from scene to scene, and the scenes collectively fit together. That's exactly where they should be in real life. The buildings that you're walking through are exactly next to the dock, and you weave from those buildings down to the dock. And I think that's incredible. It's something that I really, really appreciate in queues when they're able to keep the full immersion. I know I just yapped for a while about how great this queue is, but trust me, you need to go out and experience it yourself. It is an incredible queue and one of the most underrated queues, I think, in the world. But moving on to number 4 is definitely not a queue that's underrated. In fact, a ton of people love this queue and probably would rank it almost number 1. But I do think it's great, and that is going to be Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. This queue is just incredible. You get to explore all of Hogwarts Castle. It is a long indoor queue. The outdoor queue over at Universal Hollywood is also great as well. We're talking about the one at Hollywood and Islands of Adventure and Universal Japan. They're all the same. That outdoor queue is great, but then once you get inside the castle, it is just insane. You start off with that greenhouse area, which is good, but as soon as you get inside, it's just amazing. There are so many iconic sets and scenes from the movies, which is so cool to see. And these rooms are just massive. The scale of this is insane. The detail is amazing. All the talking portraits look great as well. The multiple different pre-shows that you walk through also look really, really good. And the load station is amazing as well. Just overall, this is one of the most immersive queues. I could spend all day just walking around and exploring this queue. It's almost more like you're walking through a ride before you get to the ride. It's that immersive and that incredible. Truly one of the best queues I have ever seen in my life. If you're going to do this ride, make sure you wait in the queue at least once just so you can see it. It's great to do that and then do single rider right after, because the single rider line works great for this, but it does skip the majority of the queue. So be sure to wait in the standby queue at least once if you can. It's a really cool experience. And moving on to number 3 is one of the newest rides on this list, and it's actually very similar to Harry Potter, and that is going to be the brand new Monsters Unchained: The Frankenstein Experiment. This queue is just incredible. If I had to pick one of my favorite queues, this would probably be one of the top of the list just because I love the classic monsters and I love horror stuff so much, and this queue is incredible. In fact, this queue might even be scarier than the ride itself. It has almost like a Horror Nights feel with it. As you're walking through the bottom parts of the castle, it is insane. It is so cool. There's like words that kind of fade in and out of the walls. It feels very, very dark. The level of detail in these scenes is incredible as well. I love the Frankenstein that's standing there, and you got that little X-ray thing in front of him. The Dracula that's captive as a bat looks really, really good as well. That's a scream, but it's done really well. And just the scale of some of these scenes is insane. That staircase room looks amazing as well. And like I said, we're including pre-shows in this. This has one of the best pre-shows I've ever seen on a ride, ever. That Frankenstein animatronic might be one of the greatest animatronics I've ever seen in my life. The first pre-show is also great as well. I love that you can see the robotic arm, the KUKA arm system moving in front of you. It is very, very cool. It gets you very anticipated for the ride, especially because it's moving very, very fast. But it's just a great pre-show. And like I said, that second one is just out of this world. One of the best I've ever seen. We'll have a full ranking of the top 10 best pre-shows. That'll be coming out soon. And that one will absolutely be on this list. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But moving on to number 2 is going to be the one and only Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Now, this is one of the best overall package queues I've ever seen. While I'm not a huge fan of the first part of the queue at the Resistance base, I think it is very cool. It just gets a little bit repetitive and feels like it goes on for quite a long time. The set design, though, is definitely decently good. What really separates this queue from everything else are the pre-shows and that second half of the queue. This ride has 3 different pre-shows, which is more than I think any other ride does that I've been on. And all 3 of them are very, very good. That first one with Rey is great. The projection hologram looks really good, and the BB-8 animatronic is great as well. And it's great to set up what takes you to that next pre-show, which if anything is another ride. You kind of go from a pre-show to a ride to a pre-show to another ride, but it's still kind of a pre-show. It just moves a little bit, and that one is very cool. This is one of the most immersive queues I've ever seen. And that grand reveal, once the doors open up and you see all those stormtroopers and you're on that Star Destroyer, that is just insane. It's one of the best reveals I've ever seen in my life. And the rest of the queue is incredible from there as well. Being on the Star Destroyer is awesome. Then you got that third pre-show with Kylo Ren interrogating you in the interrogation room, and that's great as well. And then obviously you get right onto the ride. But it's just amazing. It is so incredibly immersive. Everywhere is so detailed, and the storytelling in this queue is truly unmatched. This is one of the only queues in the world that I say is 100% necessary for the ride experience. You cannot ride Rise of the Resistance without being in that queue. It absolutely is necessary. And like I said, that reveal once the doors open from the ship onto the Star Destroyer is insane. However, I do not think it's the best reveal in the world. And that's why it's not the number 1 queue in the world, because that honor goes to the one and only Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. Now this has the best reveal, I think, in the world, and the greatest room in any queue of all time. The outdoor queue is just alright. It's definitely like detailed. It looks like Paris. It's very cool, but it's nothing crazy. Once you go through the Metro Flue, though, that's when it gets insane. You are transported right into the London Ministry of Magic, and it looks incredible. This room is so much bigger in person. Videos, it looks big, but in person, videos don't even do it justice. It is crazy. The room looks like it goes on forever, and it is massive. The scale of this room is completely unmatched by any other queue I've ever seen in my life. I would argue, this is a crazy take, but I would argue the queue is even better than the ride itself. I'm not a huge crazy fan of the ride, but I am a huge fan of this queue. It truly is one of the best queues ever built, and in my opinion, my personal favorite queue of all time. That main room isn't the only part of the queue, however, it is definitely the best part. But the rest of the queue is definitely great. There are some really cool other scenes, some cool solid animatronics. I love the part where you have the little thing that's mopping up all this stuff on the ground, and it feels like you're right there on the streets. It is very, very cool. But yeah, this queue just overall is absolutely my favorite in the world. But I want to know what your guys' favorites are. That's going to do it for our ranking today. Be sure to comment down below how you would rank the top 10 best queues in the world. Be sure to comment if there are any queues out there that I forgot to put on this list or you think should absolutely be on this list. Or if there's anything that I haven't had the chance yet to experience that will definitely be on this list in the future. With that being said, though, that's going to do it for our video today. Be sure to stay tuned for all of the new videos on the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to comment down below. Thank you so much for watching World of Immersion today, and we'll catch you in the next video.